Hi, you're listening to When Isabel Met Aviva, a podcast about romcoms, female-driven screenwriting, and how to break into the entertainment industry. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Aviva.
And thanks for listening to our podcast.
Okay, we're back with another episode.
I know, it's like weird to see you virtually now.
It is weird. It turns out we are real people.
Neither of us was a catfish.
Yeah, no catfishing happening here. So yeah, I was just in LA and I finally got to meet Isabel and it was really fun.
Yeah, we had our meet cute at Erewhon.
So good. I was waiting at the top of the stairs, but then I was like, wait, I can't block the entry. So I didn't wait at the top of the stairs.
It sounds like Erewhon was like your favorite place in LA.
It was what dreams are made of. I really loved it. I think I went 5 times, which
That's
is
amazing.
It was like most of my diet when I was in LA, but it lives up to the hype. And I was telling Isabel, I mean, it's expensive, but I feel like it wasn't as crazy as I thought. Like I would split up the food into like lunch and dinner when I was there, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's just the smoothies that I think are like extra insane.
Yeah, I feel like the smoothies are insane because like that's kind of just one meal, in a day. But I see what you're saying that like I don't actually think the food is as expensive as people think if they are smart about it. Like if you buy a bunch of the bulk stuff, you can easily turn that into 2 to 3 meals. So it's just like a matter of how you eat, I guess.
Yeah, it was so good. Should we do a quick recap of what we did in LA together?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got in on Thursday, but I didn't meet you until Saturday.
Yeah.
Is that right? I can share other things I did screenwriting related, but when we met, we hung out on Saturday and Sunday. And what did we do? So we went to Erewhon.
Well, wait, I think you should tell people that you had it because you also met some other internet people.
Okay, should I start at the beginning? Okay. There's so much to say. But yeah, overall, I will say, first of all, like I loved LA. And I feel like this was like
so happy to hear that.
I really loved LA.
I get so much hate. And I just want to say that I felt the same. When I moved here, I remember like my first couple months, I was having such a great time. And I kept thinking, why did everyone tell me like it was gonna suck and that I was like so stupid for moving here? And like I feel like whenever I would tell people that I was like from LA or like that's where I live, I'd always get hit with the like, oh gosh, like wow, like, and I'm just like, I think maybe it's like a little secret actually. Maybe I'm not supposed to be telling people that LA is actually awesome because we're trying to like not have it be so expensive to live here. So maybe I am the problem after all.
No worries.
I just talked myself into realizing I'm the issue.
No. But yeah, no, I loved LA. I had wanted to go for a while. Like I've been in my life, but it had been many years and not really since I was obsessed with screenwriting. That was like, more recent obsession. Well, not that recent, but I don't think the time I went to LA before I was like this obsessed with rom-coms and screenwriting. But anyway, so I flew in on Thursday. I had a beach meetup with some Twitter friends and friends from like kind of all over who I'd met online, a couple I'd met in person before who like used to live in Seattle. And it was so sweet. I was staying in Santa Monica, so we met up at the beach like we could see the pier it was very iconic. And I was just really touched because especially in LA, I feel like, it's not like Seattle where you can kind of like casually be like, I'll be there in 10. Like I feel like in LA, it's like more planning to get somewhere unless you like live in the area. So I was touched that people came and I just felt like so seen because it's like everyone has such similar dreams and it's so fun to just talk with people who also have this big dream in different ways. Like some want to go into acting, some, have different directions like stand up, but it was really fun. Screenwriting Twitter, amazing. Back in the day.
I mean, props to you though, because you're like the one who brought all those people together, I feel like you brought so many people together through Twitter.
Really cool. I never expected it.
Me sad about Twitter not being what it used to be anymore because it was such a space for community, I feel like, especially in the writing community. So
yeah, it was great. So that was amazing. And it is so touching when you meet up with people and then they become friends. Like they're already gonna like hang out. Like I wish I were in LA, but like it's cute to like, I don't know, match make friends kind of with similar interests. So that was really special. And then the next day I met my producers. I met Karen Glass, who we've had on the podcast, and I met her producing partner, Rachel Sklar, and I like wrote this rom-com for them. And we met so many times on Zoom, but this was the first time we met in person. And we went to Earth Cafe, which I also loved a lot. Super like crunchy, organic restaurant chain as well. So that was just truly so special because it was just something I dreamed about. Like I just didn't know when we would meet in person, and it's just so much more special to get out of Zoom, you know?
Yeah,
So,
you manifested so many things happening for you on that trip.
It was very vision board come to life, truly. Like, I don't know, I think it might have been the best trip of my adult life. Like it just like was so serendipitous, and like I just loved meeting everyone. It was so social, and then it also was like a little bit out of my comfort zone because I don't tend to like go on solo trips, even though I was meeting up with people, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like driving around. I felt very like independent in LA.
I know, and you did a great job driving, I have to say.
Thank you.
Because like when I first moved to LA, I was so terrified driving. So Aviva also got her initiation into LA traffic driving, and she did amazing. Like,
yeah, no, it went. I think, you know what, I am a good driver, and I think I can say that. But yeah, I was definitely like a little worried about parking and the highway, but it went totally fine. It really was like driving in Seattle. It really didn't feel that different to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so I met them. So special. And then I'm definitely doing an abridged version. Oh, before that, I went to the WGA library.
Oh yeah, that sounds like such a perfect screenwriter day. I feel like we should tell people about that because I haven't even gone to that yet, and I feel more inspired to go, knowing that you went and like the experience you had.
It was really sweet. I mean, I was just like wearing these like rose-colored glasses, just being like so excited to just like see the WGA sign and be like, and, like even like the security there was so nice. Like side note, people, I think also I was just like in a really good mood, but people in LA were so nice to me. Like, which was so nice. Because I expect, you know, like a big city, I don't know, maybe like you just never know. But like 99% of people were like even a cashier at Air One like introduced herself to me. Like that does not happen. Because we realized she was from Seattle too, side note. And she was like, my name's Sammy. And I was like, nice to meet you. Anyway, so the WGA library, I'm going to make some reels. I'm going to make a reel about that. So go to our Insta.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was really cute. Like you just go for free. You just have to make an appointment in advance. And it's what it sounds like. It's just a script library. So they're just.
Wait, did you have to pay to park?
It was actually free.
Wow.
So if you go on a Thursday or Friday.
The WGA library. And
they validate it for you.
Wow.
Which also felt special. And they gave me a name tag with like
the name tag was really cute.
Yeah. So it was really special. It was only like a half an hour excursion, but highly recommend. And you can write there. Like if you're a writer in the area, you can spend like 7 or 8 hours just treating it like a coffee shop, although you can't drink anything, which is a con for Isabel.
I would say that's the one thing that gets me, but I also understand, especially when I didn't realize that the books or the scripts that you read, I didn't realize they were going to be in like a book bounded like that.
Yeah, they bound some of them. And
okay, they're all not like that.
Not all of them. So we had a guest script. Like, okay, so basically when you reserve a slot, you can request certain scripts and they like, you can look at their archive online and see what they have. But I was just like, please reserve some rom-com scripts for me. I didn't know what to request.
But I love the ones he picked for you.
It felt more special that he actually chose them, the librarian there. I was like, this is so cute. So he gave me When Harry Met Sally. He gave me Alana Wolpert's script, Anyone But You, like the original before.
Did it have her name on it and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was definitely an earlier draft. So I didn't really get a chance to like read that much of it because I was just there for a short amount of time, but it was like, this is so cool. And then When Harry Met Sally, and did I already say that one?
Yes.
When Harry Met Sally, Anyone But You, Notting Hill,
Oh yeah.
Oh, His Girl Friday, which is like a classic.
Yeah, I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that would be a fun script to
Yeah,
read.
I've seen that film actually. So, and he gave me like another one, I think I'm forgetting, but it was really cute. And then I'm trying to do a condensed version of the trip. What else? Okay, so then I met with Karen and Rachel. It was amazing. And then I saw a family friend that evening, which was really nice.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then we're on to Saturday, where we met for the first time. And so we were at Air One, and that was just I was just so excited to meet you. And because I don't know, it's just like always interesting to take friendships like off online,
Right, yeah.
like you just like I assumed we'd get along, but you just like, I don't know, it's just like a different
I know, yeah, I
form
know.
of
I guess,
knowing
yeah, I never
someone.
like thought about that, but it was like, yeah, we still have the same energy.
Yeah,
We were
like
like
it
in
felt
person.
exactly except we weren't like recording every conversation like a
Yeah.
normal person. So that was really fun. And then what did we do first?
I think we just drove to the WB studio
Yes.
tour. Yeah, because we wanted to like go. I was explaining to Aviva that we should just like go the furthest we're gonna go because it was like early in the morning, so we were basically going in the opposite direction of traffic. So that's also my pro tip for anyone traveling to LA is like whatever the thing you're gonna do in the morning is like furthest from wherever you're staying. Like go in
Yeah.
as long as you're like going in the opposite of traffic, it's not as bad. So we drove over to Burbank. We went to the WB studio tour, which I was excited about because I'd never done that. And I was like, well, Aviva's going to be like the best person to like do that studio tour with, right? So
It was cute.
it was a lot of fun, but I guess it was kind of funny in retrospect when I think about it that I guess I didn't think about this fact. I don't know if you did either, that like there's just so many like superhero like comic kind of movies that like the WB studio does. So it wasn't as like we just like weren't necessarily the right people to like be on that kind of tour, right? Because like and our tour guide was definitely very like, guy that likes superhero movies.
Yeah. But it was still worth going. I think
Yeah.
like, he was like, any Pretty Little Liars fans? I guess you remember that show more than I do, but I did love that show back in the day. And our favorite part, or one of our favorite parts, I'll speak for myself, was like seeing the parking spot name.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite part too, actually. I think the best part of the tour was that you're just driven around the studio and Aviva and I were kind of like peering out, looking at all the like names of the buildings and like the parking lots are like tagged with like actors and writers and directors' names. So we saw like G. Clooney and
wild. And Mindy Kaling, we saw a sign like reserved for Mindy Kaling, and
but that was like a building. So that I think he was saying that that's where like she has like a production office right now where like they're working on something and it's like their writer's room essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is just like a random house in the like fake neighborhood.
Yeah, super random. And then we saw the like La La Land coffee shop, but it was just like, obviously just like an empty, it wasn't a real coffee shop.
Yeah,
like the one where Emma Stone works. But I love that she works on the lot like in the film. And that felt very like meta, I guess. I don't know, just like
that's what I think was so fun about it was like if you've never been on a lot, it's definitely worth it. 'Cause it was like $76 or something like that. So it's expensive, but I feel like for getting the experience of being on a lot and kind of getting a picture for like how this all comes together and works, and like getting to see the sets and like the fake houses and I did love when he like turns like when we like turn the corner in the car and he's just like, "Welcome to New York."
Yeah, that was
and you're like, special. I mean, it does look like New York in this little alleyway.
Where the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire kiss.
Oh yeah,
that was special. I love that movie. And Gilmore Girls, like we saw some like Gilmore Girls exterior sets.
Yeah,
Stars Hollow. Oh, and the gazebo. We have a picture.
Oh, yeah, the gazebo.
If you want to see, by the way, like pictures of our trip,
check out our Instagram.
Check out our Instagram. And so that was really fun. And if I were there longer, I'd want to maybe do some other studio tours, although I bet that would like really add up because if they're all like $70. But I would love to see some others. And then what did we do after that? We had lunch.
Yeah.
We tried to go to Griffith Park, but it was like too busy.
Oh yeah.
Or we wanted to
I forgot about that.
And there were a lot of wasps, which was stressful.
Yeah.
So we couldn't really eat outside. And
Oh, and then we drove to the, like, we tried to take a photo with the Hollywood sign in the back because we
oh
wanted to see the
yeah,
Hollywood sign.
yeah.
So that was unfortunate because, like, it looked really great from our perspective, but it just didn't show up on a photo. So,
Yeah, but it was special to see. Like I'd seen it
yeah.
before, but I was like, this is literally on my vision board. Like I have to see it right now. So that was fun. And then what did we do that evening? We went to a comedy show. We saw
Oh yeah, we saw May Martin.
May Martin. And I by the way, I realized I had seen the pilot of their show.
Feel Good?
Yes, because I rewatched it yesterday or something and it said I'd watched it already. So it'd been a while. It's good. I want to keep watching. So that was
Yeah,
I
maybe
thought
I'll
that
try
was
watching it now. I
yeah.
feel like I'm ready. I feel like I
You
can
can
probably
do it.
watch the first episode now and not be triggered.
Yeah,
Let's see.
you can
And then
do
maybe
it.
we can get them on the show.
Can we? I thought it was legitimately so funny. Sometimes you go to comedy shows and it's not that funny, but I
Yeah,
was
I
very
know.
amused.
Yeah,
Like I
I do.
genuinely was.
Yeah, I do really love their comedy because I think they're like a very different type of comedian, and I
Yeah,
like that. And that's where I think I would like the show. I mean, everybody I know tells me that I would like love the show because it's rom-com about a comedian, and their life. And so I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, that sounds great, but I'll give it another try.
I like it. And then, I mean, I'm kind of fast forwarding a lot of this because we have to bring our guest on in a second, but we can discuss it another intro, a little bit more detail if we want. But then the next day was, I think, one of the highlights for sure was our meetup, and we had a guest meetup at the super cute. What was the cafe called again?
Jackson's Market and Deli. If anyone's in
So
Los
cute.
Angeles, it's in Culver City. I feel like it is like a little hidden gem. Like it's literally like in a neighborhood, and then there's just this random like it is deceiving because when you walk into it, it just looks like that market. I think you have to like know to walk into the back, right? And then there's like a beautiful like fountain. There's a waterfall. There's
It's
like
a movie
so much
set.
seating. It does feel like a movie set. It's where they filmed Letters to Juliet. Not actually.
Don't believe us, but it looked like it. I was like,
It's
you can
that vibe.
pretend. And
They've got real
then
grapes.
yeah, no, there were real grapes from the what do you call that? A trellis?
Oh yeah,
a
like
pergola? A pergola? I think a pergola.
yeah, patio outdoor awning thing.
I was like, maybe I was still in the WB mindset where I was like, everything's fake. And then, but I think they were real grapes.
No, they were real grapes.
Yeah, I trust you. You're the produce expert here.
They're in season right now, so they are
cool.
real.
So cool. And so we had 3 people come to our meet. We invited all our guests, and we definitely want to do more meetups. But we had 3 come, which I was just so honored that 3 came.
Yeah, no, oh my gosh, it was so exciting to meet them.
It was so special. So we had Diane Drake come, who wrote What Women Want. We had Emily Ting, It's Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong. And then we had Hannah Marie Hines, and she did Love It First Like, that rom-com. So it was so fun. And it was really cute to see them like becoming friends.
I know, yeah.
We're setting up people. So I thought it was, I don't know, it was just really heartwarming to just like meet up with people. It's just so different than just interviewing them,
Yeah, so. I know. It was so nice to just be able to like chat, have a bunch of random different conversations, and I definitely left that day feeling very like okay, there's like I'm not gonna give up on my dream, like I felt so much more supported by everybody.
Yeah,
and it was also just like a good reminder that like there's no like everyone's on their own timeline and journey, and I think that's what I like really appreciate about hearing everyone's different stories about how things happened or like at what point in their life they tried to like pivot to actually go for their dream and stuff. And that's where I'm just like, yeah, anyone, you can change your life at any time if you just like decide to do it,
Yeah.
So that's what kind of gave me the hope that like, all right, I know I haven't really written anything in the last like 6 or 7 months, but I'm still working on things and like it'll just all work out when it's meant to. So I kind of
And I was reminding you on the car ride after, like, I think I was at this point, like, I've witnessed you be super motivated and writing all the time as well. So it's like, I think it's hard to remember when you're out of it, like, that you can be totally, you're capable of that. And I've witnessed it where like, we're in opposite places where you're like, I'm writing every morning and I'm like, what is final draft? So like,
Right, yeah.
so like, it totally depends. And like, like I've been writing a lot more. So like, I don't know, just a reminder to everyone and you and myself that like, even if you're not feeling super creative right now, like it will, if you're a creative person and this is your love, like it's going to come back,
Yeah.
So
Is
yeah,
our guest?
it was, yeah, we should probably introduce our guest. We can do more of a recap in a future
Yeah, I
episode
know.
too.
Maybe tomorrow we have an interview, right?
Yeah, we do, but we can
Yeah.
like talk maybe a little bit more about the rest
Well,
of the
I want to talk
weekend.
about some rom-com shows.
Oh yeah,
Well,
let's
not
talk
a
about
rom-com drama.
Oh,
My
okay. We
Oxford
will
year.
talk about that in
I have
next week
thoughts on
in
that.
the next episode.
Yeah,
A
we'll
lot of
talk
thoughts
about that for the next
But
episode.
yeah. Oh,
This is everyone's
angry.
warning
But
to watch My Oxford Year before you listen to the
yeah,
next episode
to the
because
next
we're
one.
going to talk about that.
Yeah, we are. But anyway, today we are interviewing a woman I met at a Bainbridge filmmakers meetup. And she used to live in LA and now she lives in the Pacific Northwest. And she has done music for like soundtracks for so many famous films.
So cool.
Yeah.
Cool
I don't
job.
really know. So cool.
Can't
We
wait
kind
to
of
hear how she
manifested
got
this.
into it.
Yeah. We kind of manifested this because I do know we've talked about music before and we're like, it'd be really cool to talk with someone who gets that side of filmmaking.
Yeah, we have said that.
Yeah, we totally manifested her. So yeah, let's just bring her in the chat.
Wait, what's her name?
Oh yeah. She has no name. Her name is Lesley Langs. And yeah, and I know she's also a rom-com writer, so that's also how we connected. And she basically in her intro at this meetup was sharing that she did music for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and the Lizzie McGuire movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to like go talk to her right now.
I can like literally picture you being like, I need to meet this girl.
Seriously. So yeah, let's welcome her in the chat.
Hi, Lesley. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, great to see you guys.
Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, I was telling Isabel that so we met at a Bainbridge filmmakers meetup, and as soon as I heard that you worked on the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, I was like, I have to go talk to you.
Yeah.
We love that movie over here. So
yeah, and we recorded the soundtrack, the score here up in Seattle.
Oh
at a
wow!
church, Brashears University.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So can you start with just sharing? So what was your title in the music world for film, and what did you do?
Yeah, so for a long time I've been a music editor, which basically means all the music comes through me and I put it in the film. So my job is to physically take all the music and put it in the make sure if it hits the picture, but it's always changing. A lot of times I come on board early and help them find the sound or find the songs. I work with the directors. I work directly with the directors, and there's also music supervisors who are also giving us ideas, and they're also like looking at the budget to make sure we can afford all the stuff. Mm-hmm. But so like my job is to actually, and then when I work with the composers, the job is a lot bigger in the sense that I do a lot of prep work with them. We try a lot of things out. I also can take all of their music and repurpose it, change it. And as movies evolve, pictures change. So you might have written something to an earlier version. My job is to keep the music up to date. I also, it's been a while since I've worked with the big orchestras, but sometimes I go to work with like 100-piece orchestra, playing music. And then, my job is to track it and make sure which takes, because it's like it's recording music is a lot like acting in the sense that you'll do a few takes and then you have to edit those takes together to make sure everything sounds great. So there's a lot of paperwork involved. So it's, and I kind of just fell into it. Like I didn't even know there was a job of music editing. Well, my thing is I was in film school. I was directing some short films, and but my favorite part was working with the music, putting the music on the end. It was like putting the icing on the cake, and I got really excited. And I collected, when I'm old enough to have CDs, I had a whole bunch of CDs of soundtracks. So I had collected those for years. And one of my friends remembers, she's like, I remember you in your dorm room one time saying how you really wanted to someday work in movie music. I'm like, I don't actually remember that, but she's, or maybe she'd ask me like, why do you have so many soundtracks and you know, as opposed to like bands? But I just really liked movie soundtracks. And then when I can tell you that story if you want, but like the day that I found out there was a music edit, well, I'll just tell you. So I was working on this movie, which you probably never saw, called Sunset Park, with Danny DeVito was producing and his wife was in it. And it was a basketball movie. It was a cute film, but I had been on as the assistant picture editor because I only knew about editing picture and stuff like that. And it took me a while to like crack into that job. It was my first studio job. And then my job was, I had a lot of CDs, so I'd bring those to the editor to you know, try in the film. And then when when my job was ending, well, towards the end of the job, when I was like kind of, my schedule was done, I remember talking to the music editor that we had hired, and I was like, you know, first of all, is your job is only to work on the music? And she's like, yeah, that's what it is. And I said, wow, how does somebody get that job? And she just said, well, if you really want to know, I'm looking for an assistant. And I ended that job on one day on like a Friday as the assistant picture editor. And I showed up the next Monday as the assistant music editor. And that was like a really fun.
That's so cool.
I got to
That's
learn
really
on the job, which was amazing. And it is a lot. It is very specialized, but it's a very, it's been a really fun place to be. And like I was telling Aviva earlier, I kind of, because I had been writing and stuff back and directing these little films, I just fell on this track of music editing, which it has been amazing. I mean, I'm still doing it, but it's now I'm finally getting back to writing, and it's been a long time. But it's interesting because that person brought me on a few films as an assistant, and then her husband was the music editor for James Horner, which I don't know if you know him, but he was very prominent, won a lot of Oscars, but he done like Braveheart and like Legend of the Fall and these other great movies. But I got to work with him on like Titanic was like one of my first film, or I did with him and James, a couple other movies with him, like Mask of Zorro, if you ever saw that or whatever. So I just was like very young and all of a sudden working on these big movies. So that was exciting and fun and interesting. But it also, you know, it took me on this really amazing trajectory, which so just now after moving up to Seattle, I'm like, what about this other thing? You know, what about this other thing that I was doing in the closet all along that I haven't really shown anybody? Maybe those things can come out. So I guess I've been sort of a closet writer for a long time.
Yeah.
But now inspired meeting all the people up here. So that's been wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, that was my start and how I got into it. I just sort of launched into that. If you have any more specific questions about I mean, I don't remember everything about all the scores I worked on because a long time ago. But the other one I think you like was Lizzie McGuire movie and Tuck Everlasting.
Yes.
What was the other one I thought of? Oh, Practical Magic, like those things. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, we would love to hear in more detail. I had or just like a little question. So you went to film school in LA. You were in LA.
No, I went to school at UC San Diego.
Oh, okay. So you were in California.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to LA.
But the interesting thing about our school is like it was like an experimental artistic school. We didn't really have a narrative program. So, but we had a lot of 60 millimeter film equipment, and we formed this club, and every weekend we would go out and shoot 60 millimeter films.
That's so cool.
And it's kind of like that, you know, do it yourself kind of spirit. And it was really like an amazingly formative time to just see what a bunch of little scrappy young filmmakers can do. And this is with 16 millimeters. So we had to technically we had to learn a lot of stuff, but everyone got to pitch a project. And then we kind of nominated a director for each project, and we'd all fill in different roles. Mm-hmm. So I think I was a location scout on one, and then I was an editor on one, and then I was finally I was like a director on one. So it was like you just learned, you know, by doing that for everybody else. And I think other traditional film schools do that in a different way, but we didn't. We could just get there a lot faster because we weren't handing any of these in for projects. I mean, some people did, but so that was really a formative time to just get out there and do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't great, but like you learned a lot.
Yeah, very hands-on.
Yeah.
Kind of curious, did you have any kind of background in music? Like, do you play instruments at all, or did you just were like a fan of music?
Well, it's interesting because I did have piano lessons, but I stopped. I mean, I wouldn't sit down at the piano now and feel comfortable playing, but so there was like a tiny bit, but what I did have, which was, unbeknownst to me, I had a really good ear. Like I remember in middle school when we had to listen to a thing where you had to figure out all the instruments, like guess them. I remember. So if somebody wanted to be a music editor, I don't think that should hold you back. There are a lot of fantastic composers and stuff that get into music editing, but it's not. I think one of the things that I had that because I didn't have a lot of formal music education as far as playing or composing, I really I feel the emotional qualities of the music. Like even when I listen to a song, I can like disregard the lyrics and just hear the emotional, like how it's affecting you and how it can affect a scene. And a lot of what I do is it's basically the narration or the subtext in scenes. So you really have to understand what the character is feeling in that moment, and follow camera movement. And, so I think my film education, where I understand, shots and timing and rhythm and all that really added into, and also just when you listen, like I was to prepare for this, I hadn't listened to Lizzie McGuire in a long time. I was like, what does that sound like again? And the composer, Cliff Idleman, he did Sister of the Traveling Pants. He was the composer on that and the Lizzie McGuire movie. And he has such a heart, like he really brought a heart to those films. And I think you might not know it, but one of the reasons why those work so emotionally well is because the music is pulling you along in this very sort of warm, innocent, and deep way. And I think when people think about oftentimes music for film and TV, they think, oh, it'll be great, have this song on top, we'll have all this meaning. But, humans, we resonate in tonality, sound is just, music is just like sound waves, and it can penetrate, especially in a movie theater, as opposed to at home. But those things, they can pull performances, they can dictate. So I don't know. I feel like I get excited when the right music goes on the scene, and I've seen how it can elevate it, how it can change it, how it can, and you can really get inside a character's head. I remember working with James Horner, who was, he's brilliant. He passed away a few years ago, but absolutely brilliant man. And if you watch some of his films and you look at the music, like there would be, I remember this, well, I won't go into the movie, but this one moment where it just changes. It can change everything. It also can remind you of things that happened earlier. Like we have an emotional intelligence, we as human beings, to music that is innate, ingrained. You pick up a lot, through your life too, but it's a way it penetrates. And I think for any filmmaker who's working on their projects, to keep in mind, there's songs, great songs put you in the mood. Songs take you to the period wherever you are in time. They orient you, songs do, and they can elevate, and songs can do great things for, but the score, the underscore, it really touches. It can really, so I did probably more of my work has been, I do all the songs too, but helping create the score, helping move, I've taught a lot of directors, how to listen to music.
Yeah.
And I learned all of it on the job. I really did. So it's another long-winded answer, but anyway.
It's so interesting because it's like not like our world at all. I'm kind of curious, like, because my understanding is that you add the score like after everything's been filmed, and you like watch the scenes and then you add the
Yes
music
and
to it.
no. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes you can read a script and sort of get an idea of what the sound or the idea, because a lot of times, you know, let's say, okay, you're making a Greek movie, because we've talked about this. You want to have like, there's a bouzouki sound, you know, there's like a certain instrument that has, it's a warm guitar, or then there's, you know, certain elements that with the Lizzie McGuire movie I was listening to, like they played like this clarinet that like is sort of the soulful kind of sweet, you know, high thing of this wonder. And you know, guitar is can be very warm and guttural, or something can be also uncomfortable. Like I worked on this whole TV series, and sort of the motif was taking stringed instrument and like and using odd things to bow, and you're like, that's really uncomfortable, you know, that makes it sound really weird, and you're kind of off, you know, you're feeling very off by it. So, but as far as putting it to, because all of the music that I work on is in service to a picture, in service to a story. It's, you can listen to it on its own, but it's created with something else in mind. It's a pairing, you know. So so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, it's not, you don't wait to the end necessarily. And a lot of times you're evolving. I'm helping with pacing. I'm helping with when you're bringing in score or songs early on, you're just saying, well, how long is the scene going to be? And, you know, and does this work? And should we cut out here? And that kind of stuff. So it evolves. Yes, you can come in at the end. For some people do, but usually it's somewhere. But what I think is really funny, if you watch people shooting, like if they have scenes where someone is shooting something, like a scene that's being filmed about people filming something, they always bring the music in during, and that
Wait, we did the music for Dickinson as well, right? We talked about.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh,
and
and that's
Dickinson. Oh my God. That was an amazing experience, because not only was it irreverent, kind of, you know, it was set a period, you know, set in the time of Emily Dickinson, and then, you know, and then it was period situations, period costume, period locations, but modern dialogue and modern music. And DeVoe Yates was the music super on that, and he was just brilliant. The stuff because I'll sometimes get buckets of music, not with DeVoe. DeVoe is very, and sometimes I'll be like, here, use anything from this. Here's 100 songs, anything work. So I'll have to go through and hunt and figure out if this works, or maybe 10 or whatever. But with that one, DeVoe was like, try and I was like, whoa, these are great. But it was my job to make them fit, you know.
That's so cool. Yeah, the music was such a big, I loved that show so much, and it was such a big part of the script. It felt like it was, you know, like without the music, it would have been such a different tone, because it was all like rap and, you know, modern music. So that's so cool.
Yeah. So that one was very curated and very thoughtful, and it was so fun to play around, and because, you know, it was a collaboration and stuff. Like, I mean, sometimes DeVoe would have a version that he cut, and I was like, well, I can do it this way, and there would be like a bake off with the director. Do you like this one, or do you like this one? You know, and to figure out which one fit the scene. But that was really, I mean, I love that show so much. I was sad I couldn't. So I was busy on something else for season 3, so I didn't get to do that one. But that show was a dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.
So it sounds like is the first step for you reading the script and kind of getting an idea of like what the tone of the movie is?
Again, it depends. I mean, I have come on pretty early. A lot of times, because of the way productions work, they don't think about bringing on a music editor until later. You know, so it does. I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes, but I'm just saying, like, for filmmakers making, I think it's good to get a composer to early on, and they can start working through kind of themes and ideas, and when you land on a sound. But yeah, but oftentimes I'm coming in when they're still editing. So they have shot, or sometimes you're also on the set. Sometimes you're on the set for music heavy movies, and like musicals, or just a lot of playback, you know, when there's you need someone there to make sure everything's lining up correctly and going to be in sync. And I worked on this this movie, a karaoke movie, and it was interesting to watch how to see everything had to be in, because they don't play the music necessarily as they're singing. They have it like in an earwig or whatever, because you need to put it in again later or maybe change it or whatever. But anyway, it was really interesting to make sure that keep everyone in sync. Because and also they might do their vocals in a vocal booth. That's happening a little less now, but then you got to make sure everything's in sync, and that can be really hard.
Yeah. I have to ask about the Lizzie McGuire movie. I have a question about that. But when you were, I mean, there were original songs, created for the film that now are timeless. They feel timeless. They're still on social media. They're What Dreams Are Made Of, and just that whole soundtrack. I remember having the CD as a kid and listening to it over and over.
I just found mine. CDs of movies I worked on. Yeah,
that's so special. So yeah, I would just love if you could share any memories from designing those songs and making the movie.
Well, I do remember being in the studio when Hillary would come in. I can't remember how old she was. Maybe she was 16 or something at the time. But I do remember, and she's a pro. She'd been doing it for a long time. Like, she was so much more relaxed than the rest of us sometimes. But I remember one time she came in when she was having a water fight with her driver / bodyguard or whatever. I'm like, we got to work now. But she was a kid, she was like just having fun and like had to work all the time. So they were like and we're just, okay, when you're done with your water fight, come in. She's such pro. And those recording sessions, she had to hold her own, with a whole, there'd be like 12 adults in the room, and she'd be like, okay, let's do this, you can do. So that was really interesting. And her sister also, Haley, was around a lot. And she has a song on the soundtrack and super talented. So I do remember there's like a fashion show scene or like a shopping scene or whatever.
Yeah.
We tried so many songs for that. That was pretty, and then we landed on a good one. But that was like this wasn't like, they were good, but like not good enough.
It's like Cover Girl or something. Isn't that the song? It's like Cover Girl. Yeah, I totally know that song.
And also because Disney really wanted, this is back in the day when you would sell CDs with the, all the songs on them. They really wanted a lot, and then they would recover. We had some traditional Italian songs in there too, and they wanted those covered, by their Disney artists, and there was a vibe. It was a like, how can we sell the movie and sell the soundtrack? There was a lot of that, those discussions in there too. But it's funny because when I remember when Cliff Eidelman, the composer, told me about this, I was like, okay, and even when I watched it, but because I hadn't watched the show, but the movie, there's a beautiful like escapism in it, and it had the touches, the animation and stuff like that. But I think that what they brought the other composer in to open it up and make it like a bigger kind of experience. And I would say that I think the music, the way that Cliff composed it too, you might go back and listen to those, like how it works in the score. Because it does make it feel like this sort of a whole new world for her character, and there's like this beautiful sort of coming of age kind of vibe. And I remember there's a scene when they're in these gardens with all these fountains, and in my head I was like, where is that place? And I knew it was outside Rome. So last time I was in Rome, I was like, I gotta hunt this place down. And it's like the gardens at Tivoli, I think. And it is 10 times more beautiful than they show in the movie. So you think it's pretty in the movie. It is absolutely amazing. It's an entire garden or a whole like top of this, like it's right on the edge of a mountain, and it's like instead of like growing flowers, they just put water fountains everywhere. And it's above, you have to it's kind of hard. Well, you have to get a taxi. It's outside Rome, but a lot of people don't go there. So it's a really cool place. I'd recommend it on your next Italian.
I love that you visited a location afterwards.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's so cute.
This one I would definitely recommend.
Okay, it's on my list. Yeah, that movie, It's so iconic, and I'm sure when I go to Rome one day, I'm definitely gonna
Oh,
think about that movie.
Yeah, the gardens at Tivoli, and it's just up on the hill overlooking Rome. There's also like a cable car up there or something, but it's anyway, it's worth it. It's really stunning. Yeah.
Wow. And then can you share a memory or just anything about the Sisterhood soundtrack and what that was
Well, I
like?
will say for me, that was a quick job that I came on to. There was another music on it, so I came on to help with Cliff. But being in Seattle, I mean, that's my big memory is we flew up. I hadn't spent that much time here, but the first time I come up during when I was at in college, and I had this premonition, like I'm gonna live here one day, but like it was a weird back in my head thing. But also I was in the 90s, that was like it was like the mecca of like music and
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
So, but I came up and we have these great musicians in this beautiful church that would record. But my big memories, I remember we checked into the Westin Hotel, and I was like, "Can I have a room with the view of the sound of the water?" They're like, "Okay." So they put me in the penthouse.
Ooh.
And at the time, the Westin was one of the bigger buildings when we were here,
Yeah.
and now it's like not as big. But and then when I remember getting in the elevator with the director, who is Ken Kwok is the director of this. He's one of the most beautiful men in the world, and he's made a lot. He also is I think the showrunner on The Office. And he's just a great and I think he has a house up here somewhere. But he's like a special guy, and I think that was the other thing. Ken was wonderful. I'd worked with him on a movie called Dunstan Checks In. It was an orangutan movie like years before. But so when we got in the elevator, I remember I pushed, everyone pushed like the 16th floor or whatever, and I pushed like penthouse, and everyone was like, "What? How did you get that room?" Anyway, I remember that, and I remember going out to some amazing meal at this restaurant, which I've never been able to find on the water. But yeah, but as far as like the score goes, like I wasn't there for filming. But this, I will tell you my other memory, and this is when I didn't read the book either, but I really feel like that film grew on me as I was working on it. Like at first I'm like, oh, they're sharing their pants or whatever, but watching it evolve and how great the actors were, really, I don't know, that I got pulled in further and further as I was working on that show.
Yeah.
I would think that one would have been a fun movie to score because each character sort of has a different vibe to them.
Yeah, that's the point.
No, exactly. And that sort of, it's a movie obviously, but it felt like it could have been a series, because each one had a story they were going through. And it had a big canvas too. I love movies with like large canvases. That's what James Horner used to say. Like it was just beautiful. Each location was different, but they all had like sort of a dreamy quality, and it was so that was a special project, a special film.
Cool. Yeah, I remember. I still listen to that soundtrack because I know when I was in Greece, I was listening to it because
and you went to Santorini. Did you do the whole
to
thing?
see Lena's house, and and I was listening to like Unwritten, and like there's an Eric Hutchinson song I really love called Rock and Roll. I think it might be from the second one, but anyway, I was listening to that.
No, I that's the other thing I was going to talk about. Like I think when music imprints memories. And a lot of times, and I think it's an amazing phenomenon how people now go, they go visit locations. But I do think it's an interesting pairing because like your own journey, your own personal journey is connected to this whatever film in this moment to that character, and this location has some meaning, right? And then you put the music on top of that. It's like you get to. One of the things I feel like I got into filmmaking. That's I could tell that story later, but or why I was interested in it, but it's because I wanted to live vicariously, and I wanted to time travel, and I wanted to experience everything. I'm a very curious mind, and I'm an adventurous at heart, but so you step in, and then when you can make that happen, I don't know how you feel if it was a just as exciting or maybe a letdown. Sometimes people go, wait, this wasn't as good as I thought. However, at the same time, it's getting you out into the world. It's like getting you to experience. So you're pairing that like your own journey with a journey that you experience with a character. Yeah, I find that really fascinating about the power of film like that.
Yeah, speaking of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten, I still think about that song every time I run. Or like whenever I'm thinking about running or wanting to get inspired to run,
Great song.
I have that song on every running playlist that I have ever made since I was like 13, 14 when that movie came out. That song is on it solely because of the scene when she runs on the beach, and that song is such a perfect like running song. And I thought it was so funny when that song like kind of came back again from Anyone But You, because I'm over here as like the millennial being like, no, that song is from the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And that song
so
is
good.
like,
Well,
it's a core memory, like you're saying.
The song is not from that. However, being it paired with that, it becomes a thing. Like now in your mind, like if somebody saw it first in Anyone But You, like that would be their memory of it.
Right.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. I think that using that song was probably a very deliberate choice in Anyone But You, because they were like, we'll bring in the like millennial ladies who maybe are really attached to that song.
Right?
I mean, yeah, it worked. Yeah,
it worked.
I'm very attached to that song.
Yeah, but it is a fantastic song. It's like an anthem. But I will say also, like when I saw Blake Lively in that, I think that was one of her first roles too. I also was like, this woman's got something. This young woman's got something. You know, there was like, and I feel like there's so much of that because a lot of these coming of age movies, I will say, depending on where you are when you see them in your life, they're really transformative. I mean, the one that I bring up, I mean, it's so old, but it's Valley Girl. And not that I ever wanted to be a Valley Girl or not that I was whatever, but this, and it's like, you know, it's a low budget film. They did it. But the music soundtrack is, and that's of my youth. There's certain songs that come like A Million Miles Away or whatever, these songs that come on that I'm like, it just takes me back to youth. And I saw it when I was younger. So these were like older, you know, you kind of aspire. But I don't know if you've seen that film, but I would, and that's, oh my God, I would highly recommend it. It's going to be campy to you. It's going to be weird. And then I ended up working with the filmmakers later on. And, you know, to me, you know, it's a cute film. It was of the time. It was that music soundtrack they were all undiscovered bands or cheap bands, but that music, the pairing, like set them up for like a whole, you know, so probably for Sisterhood for you is like Valley Girl for me. It was like this music always, I'm like, oh, I remember that. And I remember that scene and, you know, but I would put that on your list of something to see.
On the list. Yeah. Also, when I was in Greece for the I was listening to Lizzie McGuire's soundtrack. The Tide is High by like Atomic Kitten was such an like iconic song for me, and it still like makes me so happy, and I still love it.
That's a Blondie song, so that's a remix. Yeah. So people would have heard that, and so here's the thing. Also, oftentimes in these in movies for young people, you know, they're bringing their parents. Usually, oftentimes come with them. So if you can throw in a throwback for the parent. I mean, the Blondie version is so it's like it's a little bit like, wait, they redid it, but I think it's like another thing. We gotta throw some of our bands on here. We want, but the Blondie version of that it's a little bit more sultry and like it doesn't have that kind of pep to it. But I remember like working with a younger supervisor one time, and he sent me this song. And I was like, do you realize this is like a Wham song from the 80s? Like the lyrics were exactly the same, but the music was different. And it was like, he was like, oh, wait a second. He didn't know that. But it is funny, the remakes. There's so many remakes, or covers, I should say. Yeah. But the covers, they can hit people at different generations. Like you can keep bringing these songs back.
Interesting.
Like the Volare song on the soundtrack too is, actually, I can't remember the artist right now, the original artist, but that was been around in like the boomer generation, and then they brought that song, you know, back and covered it. So yeah, I mean, like there's a plasticity to music, like in the sense that you can keep, changing, repurposing, resampling, giving hints to giving throwbacks. And if if it's in your, memory banks, it'll get triggered,
Yeah.
so there's a nostalgia that they play on. And like, there's a lot of like, 90s movies set in the 90s, and that brings it back for certain, maybe Gen Xers or so. Yeah. So that's another playful thing, is like, you might want to take a song, but remix it for this or remake it for this generation with a different artist. And they do that all the time. You're like, wow, different versions of things. So
yeah, that's really
and
interesting.
the big song from, I don't know if you saw The Bodyguard, but that was there's a Dolly Parton song that that they redid for that movie that blew up,
Yeah.
So.
I was just gonna say, I'm feeling so nostalgic for movie soundtracks right now, and like it kind of makes me sad that we can't just like go buy the physical copy anymore, because that was like such an exciting thing to do.
I have a feeling, like, I was just going through some storage stuff and I found all these old CDs. I'm like, keep, because a lot of them are digitized or I can download. But I'm like, I have a feeling that buying a soundtrack, I mean, obviously you don't have a player to it, but being able to buy the whole soundtrack, like for a thing, I feel like there's something, and I've heard a lot of people say that. It also would help artists a lot to be able to buy something physical.
Yeah.
And just a shout out to, when you like music, especially if it's, someone in your community, you're like, buy it, spend a couple of, even when you go on, some of these platforms and they're like, you could pay what you can, pay $5, whatever, if you're going to buy a song or whatever. It really does help. It's hard because synchronization, which is what it's called when you put a song in movies, you can make money that way. But a lot of musicians aren't, they're not able to sustain, and create things. But I have a friend who's still putting out CDs. She'll go in and see these and she'll take them to her gigs. And sometimes people will buy them just as a, instead of it like a tip or whatever. But I think I don't know. I think you guys need to bring it back. Like, we need to like say, like, is there a thing that we can buy, whether it's a smaller thing or whatever? But I get it. Like, having a physical thing, or just as opposed to subscription.
It's nice to have physical. I'm missing my DVDs as well, but I also think, as writers, like, transitioning to talking about writing, like Isabel and I always talk about like putting songs in scripts and whether we're allowed to do that. But I do think so many writers I know always like make a playlist of like the energy of what they're about to write. Like, I tend to do that. I'm curious, Lesley, if you do that. Because I know you're a writer as well. Like, there's just such a tie between music and writing, I think, in the creative process.
Well, what it does to your brain. I mean, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because I know my first like epic short 16 millimeter film was all based on, I used to work in this coffee house and I would hear this tape all the time in my head. And it was like sort of a, they didn't have that many, because that's what we had, well, he had CDs and cassette, maybe it was a CD. But I remember it was playing in the background a lot. And when I'd be working there, cleaning up, I would hear, and it was sort of like a Renaissance-y, modern, whatever. And I just started creating this whole world in my head about this young girl who goes out into the forest and creates this fantasy of young boy, older, handsome boys to like, court her. And I ended up making this little, it ended up being like a 30-minute film about this, but it was all based on what I heard. And I think as you write, or as you come up with story, or I would say it this way, as you hear something that says, oh, that reminds me of a scene or whatever, grab it, put it on your own playlist and listen to it as you're writing. Because there's songs, but I also would encourage you guys to start listening to some score too. I have a whole playlist of like music that comes from, and that I just scenes start pouring out. It's almost like a trigger where you can put yourself in that world. Because one of the funny things about music is I have this, sometimes I lecture, and I've taught different places like UCLA Extension and NYU or whatever, where I've taught. And I do this exercise where I just bring in music, just random from different soundtracks, but not songs, all score, and just say, what does this make you feel? Like, what's the scene, and have people, close their eyes and listen, and then like raise your hand, like this puts me, and someone will just tell you what the scene is. And that is one of my favorite things. And I would try that as an exercise too. Just take a piece of music from any movie that's not the song. Or it's even better if you could do an exercise for each other. Like, you don't know where it's from. And just say, take 5 minutes and write out where this is, what this is about. And it's a great writing prompt, I think, but at the same time, but as far as putting specific songs in your scripts, I always, because it's so easy to do that. You're like, oh, this is perfect. But I would, my cheat for that is, in your script, something like this song is playing, because because a lot of times people put it in like, Led Zeppelin or like whatever, like this is and you have to have this song. Like, first of all, it's incredibly expensive. And if a producer reads and they see like all of these songs in here, I get that you're figuring it out, but that's going to be a directorial decision. That's going to be a budgetary decision. That's going to be so many other things. But if it's very specific to a moment, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it in a few specific moments, but not like everything figured out. Because for tone, but if there is like one or two songs that, yes, this is what I'm trying to convey, by all means, I think you should put those in but just know that everyone reading the script isn't going to know that song. So that's why I think it can be, and I've had people say, I have to have this song. It's like, it's the whole reason I made the film. If I don't have this song, I'm like, the film should stand on his own with something else. But especially for indie films, you don't often have much money for music. So that's, you have to decide where you want to put your budget.
Oh, I'm glad. I was going to ask that, but it sounds like your advice is for writers to write something like, and you can like name the song and like the artist, right? But not do what I think we've talked about on other episodes before is doing the music cue, bold, and then like actually put the song in.
Never, unless someone's singing along to it. Like if you're saying someone's singing along and that's an important thing. I mean, yes, for tone, whatever, the song might change. Then you might want, if it's dialogue, then you might want to put but just know, even if you put the dialogue in there and there's no song, you still have to pay for that, because there's writers' shares for the lyrics as well. But original songs, I feel like, or a friend of yours, I mean, I'm not saying for writing inspiring, but I think for filmmakers, finding somebody in your community who can give you songs is absolutely fantastic, because original songs, I think, can also do a great job for a film. But yeah, if it's important, never put the lyrics unless they are important to the story, not just because it's a vibe, but if they're important, or if somebody's in their car singing along with something.
I was gonna say, if it's like karaoke or something, like
if it's karaoke, I would only put it in the lyrics if that's like if somebody's looking at someone across the room and they're locking eyes to that line, then but then you can put the line in. But if it was just someone sings, I don't know, like whatever, like, I don't know, Bad to the Bone or whatever, in that, you don't need to put all the lyrics in there. But again, if it's an important moment and it's an important part of the scene and there's a connection, there's another reason for that line of the lyrics, then I would put it in. But not if it's just going to be a background, But you could put it in, you could put songs in for tone once or twice, like they go to the disco or whatever, or if it's a period thing and like, like some other song is playing, like Saturday Night, like the theme for Saturday Night, Bee Gees is playing, like for a vibe. But, or you could just say disco music, or the DJ is, doing, you can sort of use that to set tone. But I always think it's something like, if it's something like, or something like, Unwritten, or something like, as opposed to that specific song.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
tone,
good to
yeah.
know. Yeah, no, there's
No,
such
that's super helpful.
yeah, no, we've talked about this many times on the podcast about music because there's just such a connection. So we're so happy to talk to you because we kind of manifested this a long time ago. We were talking and we needed to speak to someone in like the movie business about music. So
Yeah.
Well, but I will say for sure, using it as helping you, because music unlocks a lot of emotions.
yeah.
So as writers, I feel like, make your playlist, even if you like, you need, to get psyched up or get back into that headspace, or especially, and if it's a a period movie, or if it's because I'm working on one of the ones I'm working on is a swing, has a lot of swing dance or like jitterbugging swing dance set in Seattle in 1941.
Cool.
We're like, it is so fun for that energy and that time, and realize, there's a war brewing, but there's also people doing this crazy wild dancing. And with that, so yeah, that one's a really special project as far as, and then, yeah, so there's some songs but we're doing, something like, but there's specific songs and people might not have those in their heads, but if you listen to them, you're like, oh, you get it. But when you're writing a script, it's hard to like pull people out that way.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I would be careful of, is when you're writing a script and people are reading it, you don't want to get so dense, that you're pulling people out because they're like all of a sudden into this song. But if it's the vibe and if it helps sell, whether it's period, tone, mindset, I think it's fine. So and so puts their heads on, the headphones on and starts listening to, Unwritten. Like, you can do that in a script. But and then if they're singing along and they sing like, some of the lyrics, that's okay too. But I wouldn't do that a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now preparing for rapid fire questions.
So yeah, the first question for you, Lesley, is what is your favorite rom-com and why?
Okay, this one was hard because I did I do have to say I love some of the older ones because they just make me giddy. Like What Happened One Night, I watched it recently. If you've ever seen it, it's one of the very first rom-coms, and it's Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. Yeah. But the sexual tension is palpable. And this is a time where they're trying to be prim and proper, but if you haven't seen it, I would so recommend it, because they're breaking a lot of conventions in that one too. Mm-hmm. And there's some iconic scenes. And I think so that one is one of my favorite. And I also love Shakespeare in Love. There's something about the way that whole movie comes together. And I also love this one called Away We Go. I don't know if you saw that one, but I don't know if that's really a rom-com, but it came up in that list. But and talk about soundtrack.
Someone just said that to us last time.
Yeah, no, our previous episode, Kari said that. That episode's not out yet, but it will be when this is out. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Away We Go, and it's by one of my favorite companies that I work with called Big Beach. And the soundtrack is phenomenal. It's Alexi Murdoch, and it's a different kind of rom-com. And then also in that same I always loved Garden State, which also has an amazing soundtrack in that same area. Yeah, that same.
Yeah. It's so funny that you bring this up again, because when we were talking about this with Kari in that episode about Away We Go, I was trying to remember who from that soundtrack is the artist that I really love, and it's Alexi Murdoch, right? Yeah.
That's so full circle.
That was how I got into his music.
Yeah, no, I saw him. I mean, he's such a lovely, shy guy too. So I saw him in concert not that long after that. And anyway, it fits that beautifully. But I would say something like Garden State. I feel like they had the soundtrack even before the film, is kind of what I remember, or some of the songs at least. But that was a really special one as far as soundtracks go.
Yeah. You're making me realize that I feel like I got into so much like indie and rock music when I was younger because of movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, for real. New Slang, right, was in Garden State, I think.
I love that
song. I love that song.
Yeah. But it is, and I think a lot of times, whatever inspires, but like that one had a lot of heart, and like I think the music choices had a lot of heart in it. And I also want to do a shout out to The Proposal. I think The Proposal's really funny.
We love The Proposal over here.
What is your favorite rom-com trope to write?
I love the postcard rom-coms, like the destination ones where a woman leaves her home, job, whatever, and finds herself in an unusual place for her, and it's sort of like the fish out of water type stuff. But at the same time, there's like oftentimes like a coming of self. So, but I have one, I've talked to Aviva about this. I have a Greek one as well, which, because I spend a lot of time in Greece, and I just think it's just, it's just romance is in the air, So, and I did a lot of traveling. I would like work, travel. And I feel like I've basically lived a rom-com life on so many levels. Like I have so many things, and probably have had more romance than one woman should be allowed. At the same time, I went on this kissing tour in Ireland one time, like all these things. So like one of these days, I have to sit down and write. I feel shy sometimes, but like, if I write different characters, but yeah. So I think I have an Irish one, I have a Greek one. So I think those are the types of things that I like to do.
Cool. Do you have a favorite rom-com outfit from a film?
I saw that one. I do, and I can't find it. So there's a movie that came out a long time ago called Hotel de Love. And there's a scene, and I remember like this woman, what was her name? Saffron Burrows is in it, and she's wearing like this wedding dress, but it's not a wedding dress you've ever seen. It's like kind of a gold sheen to it. And I remember like, that is so glam. But it was like, and that was her wedding dress. Like I thought that was a really cool, and I was trying to find a photo of it but I couldn't find it. It's not online. But if you ever get to see Hotel de Love, there is, it was like a very bold choice. I've never seen that as a wedding dress before, but anyway, it was cool.
Cool. Okay, so what is a favorite line or moment from a rom-com?
Well, I have to say, going back to It Happened One Night, there is a scene where they're trying to hitchhike. There's these, it's Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. They have no money. They're trying to hitchhike, and he's like doing all the one thumb thing. And she's like, I got to take care of it. I'll take care of it. And then she's like, I got this. And she goes out, and she just like lifts her skirt to show her garter. And like all of a sudden the car just like stop and picks them up. And it's so sexy. It's so witty. It's so whatever. And it's like, it's one of those things, you'll see it. It's like, it's one of those things, but like, at the time for the writers, I could just even see the writer going like, oh my God, I can't even, like, it's so smart. And they've redone that in a lot of ways. But if you haven't seen the film, that scene is just really lovely. So I just love that one.
Do you have any rom-coms you'd recommend? Definitely It Happened One Night is on my list. I need to watch that.
Well, there's also this guy named Preston Sturges in the 40s made all, because it's interesting, because pre-World War II, they always had these women in starring all these movies, and they were really like powerful women. There's one called with Barbara Stanwyck called Ball of Fire. There's one called Palm Beach Story. And this is around like the Bringing Up Baby, and there's a lot of other Philadelphia stories in that. But those two, Ball of Fire, and you're just like really witty, strong women. Just the writing is really sharp. And I also just saw this one called Twinless, which I saw at the film festival here coming up. It is not a straight rom-com, but it is hilariously funny, and it's about people trying to find love and connection. And the filmmaker's from Portland, and I just think it's amazing. I was in a packed, I had to sit in the front row, and I was like, I didn't want to do that, but I'm glad I did, because it was amazing. And I have not been in that many theaters in a long time where the audience is just laughing along and totally get it. It's like, it's that one. I don't know when it's coming out. So that one I would recommend. There's another one called Mary and Max in the future. The other thing I love is I like time travel romance things, like About Time, and there's one called Timer with Leslie. Have you seen Timer?
Years ago, I think.
Yeah, those are really interesting ones that they're like kind of off the but Mary and Max in the future it's an odd rom-com, but it's a low budget, really well done like sci-fi romance. So I would recommend that one.
Interesting. I love a good sci-fi movie too. So
this is like sci-fi romance. I mean, it's really it's just odd, but it's charming. It's a charming.
About Time is like one of my favorite movies too. So
yeah. And then Timer is another one. I keep thinking about the premise in Timer. I think that was a smart film. So yeah, I once in a while I'll just be like, what's that? Like I'll go through, one of the streamers. I'm like, that's, an odd one. But it's interesting to find those and just be like, that one stayed with me,
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so if money didn't matter and you had like a magic wand, what's a movie that you would make? Like one of your scripts or
That's funny because I love this one we're doing about the swing dancing, but there's a film I've been carrying around in my heart for so long. It's actually an epic romance. It's like it's like Australian aviation Titanic, basically.
Whoa.
But it's about it's the first flight across the Pacific Ocean in 1928. And it's two best friends, two men, best friends who had this dream to fly the Pacific Ocean, which is 3 times further than the Atlantic. And everyone knows about Lindbergh, but no one knows about Charles Kingsford Smith and Keith Anderson, these guys, and Ulm. But they were best friends who had this dream, happened to fall in love with the same woman. And one of them dropped out of the flight. Well, actually was kind of kicked out of the flight. And the other one made the flight and became an overnight hero. And the Sydney airport's named after him. And he became a millionaire overnight. And then his best friend, who got the girl but didn't get any of the fame. But then when Charles Kingsford Smith, the famous aviator, his plane went down not that long after in the desert, his friend risked everything to go find him and lost his life finding him. So it's like a big story about friendship and love and fame. And so I wrote it. It's a beautiful story. There's a lot of stuff. And it's like, I love that. Like, it's sort of like I don't know if you saw English Patient. It's sort of like that, but it's also really kind of witty and, but it would be expensive.
Yeah. No, that sounds great though.
That sounds like a good movie though. I got chills just listening to the story.
That's a good pitch.
Is that all a true story?
I can send you the script if you want to read it. I had like 10 actors read it in Australia. We had a big, my friend set up this reading of it, and we had like 100 people in the audience, and like grown men were like crying and stuff like that. And that was really meaningful to hear those words, that you've written. And like, there's things where people are like on their edge, and like, you hear the gasp in the audience, and that was, and the actors did a really good job. I just had a hard time when I was pitching it. People were like, we don't care about 2 dead Australian guys, here. But I'm like, it's such a good story. And not only that, it's because, I mean, these, guys, they were, they're kind of cocky and witty and whatever. They were ex-World War I pilots, but, they were crossing this unknown. I mean, they had like, everyone thought they were going to die. Like there was no way this could do this. And it's still a big deal to cry. I mean, you've got those big jets and stuff now, but there was the first plane to ever like land in Fiji. And that's like a crazy story where they had no place to land. The plane was too big, whatever. So they had to like come in like really low and then put some, they had 2 other passengers and they were in the back, and one of them happened to be naked, and like they hit the ground, he fell out, and like naked guy on thing, and like Fijians and then they had to come down the runway and then do a real quick 360 and a 180, not 360, a 180 turn around. And then and the Fijians had never seen a plane before, like it never, like, so just there are like all these like moments that you can see, these big epic moments. There would be kind of expensive, maybe you could do more now. but with AI and stuff, but are, cheaper. But so maybe someday. I mean, they've
Yeah.
done.
I think we need to get that to Glenn Powell. He's like
Yeah.
super into like
Ooh,
airplanes, and
I would
he's
watch that.
rom-com elite. I know, I was like, I would watch Glenn Powell and this like best friends, and then there's also the love story with the girl. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna manifest that for you.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you. Well, that's I wrote it like, no joke, a long time ago, but I got to meet all these amazing Australian filmmakers, and it was a real journey. I feel like when it's like with you guys too, it's like, okay, so I'm starting I'm like starting my writing career, and I'm doing these other projects. I'm collaborating a lot because I think the collaboration is fun for me. So I have my projects I'm collaborating on, like the swing dance one. I'm collaborating with my friend Fiona, but you guys are inspiring me too. I mean, talking to no, you totally are, in the sense that like being, and also just watching you guys when you're in your LA journey. Like, I did LA for a long time. I was like there for like 12 years, and then I did New York for 10 years. And like, but I needed to come up here, I think, for now to open up my writers like world, because that kind of, everyone knows me there as something else. And this is a really beautiful, I think, finding you guys' enthusiasm. And I will be telling, because we have to bring back the rom-com. I mean, I have been hearing, like, just overhearing people like at lunch saying like, oh, I missed a good rom-com. We can do, and also here's the thing, we can make our own. We can make it. We can do it.
I
Like,
love
when you
that.
see Twinless, I mean, you're like, it's not like straight rom-com, but there's enough filmmakers up here. And I mean, and I'm like finding something that has to resonate, has to be really good, really great characters, and really has to resonate, because it can open up. People are hungry for that stuff.
I
A friend of
agree.
mine is also working on those
Preach.
verticals. Those vertical things. I know they're not that good, but they could be. There could be a good one.
Yeah.
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 Oh, the other thing I should plug. Sorry, real quick. I know we're going over, but
Well, that was kind of our last question.
Yeah,
is
our
like,
last question, just plug everything
what are
you're
you
working
doing?
on.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Our last, I have to plug. So I'm also working on. I can't believe I buried this. So I'm working on. I told Aviva this. I'm working on This is a rom-com, but it's a TV show about a struggling mom who has made a lot of bad choices, but she gets a call that her dad is selling the family brewery that her mom had built from scratch. Her mom had passed away. And she goes home and she's going to say goodbye, but it turns out her ex is going to take it over, because he's like got into the brewing thing now. And now she's like, oh, no, you don't. So she decides to take over the brewery, but knows nothing about brewing. And the project is about, this woman finding herself in a new world. She also has a pretty healthy libido. So there's all these like, kind of other elements coming in. So that one's called Tapestry Brewing. And we did like I said, you could do it yourself. We did a proof of concept short. We have this great deck, and we're showing it in breweries now. So trying to get the audience, if you guys want to come see,
I would love to see it.
Yeah. And I would really, it's a fun, and the idea is to make it into a local TV show where a lot of people can participate, because you'll need a writer's room, you'll need different directors, you'll need different and do something, brew it locally, and then, but yeah, so that's another thing that I'm working on with my partner, Amanda. And it's fun. It's fun to like come up with all these other scenarios for, I've worked on a whole bunch of TV shows. So like I kind of understand the format, but short form television, like, 20, 25 minute filming, but with a lot of possibilities for kooky characters. And we set it in Port Lansing, which is a fictional town up in the Pacific Northwest, it's like a logging town, a fishing town, and they have like competitive mushroom foraging is like, there's so like having like little funny things like that. And so yeah, that's another thing. So that's called Tapestry Brewing, and we're kind of getting it out right now.
Yeah. Okay. We'll put everything in the show notes, all the links. So thank you so much for chatting with us today, Lesley. I feel inspired.
I said you guys are inspiring me, so I can't wait to hear what happens next for you guys.
Thank
you.
No, this was so lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to some movie soundtracks now for
Me too.
Listen to not just the songs, listen to the score too. So
Yeah.
I will. Definitely. Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
This has been an episode of When Isabel Met Aviva. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. You can follow us on Instagram at whenisabelmetaviva and on Bluesky at whenisabelmetaviva.
You can also find our personal profiles on Instagram and Bluesky too. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need any advice about your screenwriting career, or if you just want to obsess over rom-coms with us.
And don't forget to watch and write as many rom-coms as possible.